Obviously, I'd like to run around, cover these campaigns, and talk about what's going on because unfortunately, that's when people start poking their heads out of the sand and start paying attention. And we got this guy out there, Vivek Ramaswamy, fam, who's now moved to second place in some of the polls when it comes to the Republicans. He's actually passing in some polls. He's passing Ron DeSanctimonious. And he's got some things to say. I reached out to him immediately, fam. I didn't hear anything back. And then I just started going after him because he is definitely an anti-China dude. And even though he does have some good ideas and he seems to be connecting with a lot of the right-wing populists, he went on with our favorite show. Is it Breaking Points? Kyle and Krystal? Well, not Kyle and Krystal. I'm sorry. Krystal and Sagar, the original one.
Mm-hmm.
I get mixed up, fam. And there's two things I want to point out. The first thing I want to point out is their conversations on global warming because, fam, this is something that is not being debated properly by the left anymore. And we're losing ground. They're going so far left with the ESG movement that they want to reduce the carbon within each other, the persons, where they don't even talk about the military and how they affect the environment. They don't talk about plastic and how it affects the environment. We're not having a serious conversation anymore when it comes. Here goes fam again. We're not having a serious conversation anymore when it comes to global warming, climate change, green policies, whatever you want to talk about. So, you're back, fam? There we go. Let's bring her back on. So, fam, we're not having serious conversations when it comes to climate change anymore. The left is lost on it. They've gone the ESG way, which the ESG way is just the way of the big guys, the big corporations, smalling up all the small guys, farmers too. It has a lot to do with our food. We're not having these conversations anymore. We're having the wrong conversations. And unfortunately, the left has lost it when it comes to that. And this is an opportunity where, I'm going to play this just to make fun of Krystal because she gets her ass handed to her right now in this next clip, fam. But I want to talk about how we have to have a conversation about climate change and global warming. How do we find a way now, the left, to regain the confidence to talk about treating Mother Earth properly without handing ourselves over to the ESG movement? That is the question right now. We need to get back to it. We're looking so crazy because energy, fam, isn't just about burning fossil fuels in the air. Energy is also about keeping grandma warm at night. You know what I'm saying? And small areas and poor areas and areas that are, the rural areas. So let's listen to this clip. You tell me what you think, and we'll go right into it. Unless you got something to say beforehand, fam.
No, I mean, this is exactly what Russia faces, what China's faced, and what a lot of countries in Latin America face when there's a lot of climate activists who want to promote this idea of climate. They say they're fighting climate change, but what they're really doing is doing the work of these multinational NGOs and all of these corporations that have a lot of money in this movement to promote a certain narrative rather than the climate. They're basically working on behalf of these corporations. And what they basically end up doing is bringing about the destruction and the movement towards this sort of global left type of existence by promoting this climate change that isn't really.
There she goes again. There she goes again. Here I go again on my own. But yeah, fam is talking about it. They've completely been duped to getting in. What's up, Indie Left? They've been completely been duped to, pretty much standing for the World Economic Forum. She's having a terrible time with her stream. Let's do it. You know what? Let's fam, here you are. There you go, fam.
Just play it. Play it, and I'm gonna go restart my internet as well. Okay.
Gotcha.
One thing that I wanted to ask you, I've listened to a lot of your interviews. I think you've gotten a lot of attraction online. You're coming up in the polls. I think people really need to pay attention to what you're saying. And when you talk about people who are concerned with climate, you call them climatists, you call them climate cultists. let's just put some of these news stories up on the screen here. You've got record high temperatures that are causing increasing death in Arizona. You've got workers who are dying from heat exhaustion. You've got people who are being choked by wildfire smoke from Canada. You've got an entire state of Florida that's basically uninsurable.
Can you pause it?
At this point? And American people.
All right, let's see. Here we go again. All right, look. Wow. It just seems so friggin' juvenile. It seems so weak, small-minded to go, oh my God, they're hot. That's climate change, global warming. They're doing this because we're polluting the ozone layer, and that's why it's record heats, and these people are dying, and look at all these. You can't, and she goes this insurance policy way. You can't even get insurance policies in Florida right now because climate change is so bad that they're not going to insure your home because they think that Florida is going to be underwater in 10 years. Remember, if you ever seen what was the movie with Al Gore, Inconvenient Truth, by now, Florida should have been underwater. I'm looking out my window, Boca Raton, Florida, Highland Beach, where my mom lives, and I'm staying with her. Not underwater, guys. You know what I'm saying? You cannot be an alarmist. If you're going to be an alarmist about the situation and you're going to go, oh, my God, in the typical freaking progressive Bernie Sanders way, the AOC way, you're going to lose. And the thing that bothers me is not that, because here's what the right does. Then they're drill, baby, drill. We sound like crazy idiots. We sound like we're just freaking nuts. And then they're drill, baby, drill. And that's the game. It's like the WWE, right? That's what we got right now. Right now, the Democrats look batshit crazy. And they look batshit crazy on purpose. So therefore, the Republicans can pass their agenda. Just like during Iraq War, the Republicans look like the ones who were batshit crazy. So the left was able to push their agenda and get Obama in. That's what's going on. Same thing with climate change over here. And the fact that we are still not talking about how do we subsidize ways of energy. I've talked about, THC and hemp, because if we were to eliminate half the plastics we make right now, that would probably be one of the best things we can do for our environment. We got plastic floating out there like crazy. If we could subsidize maybe coal with hemp pills, I've talked about that, which can heat high, maybe we can do it. But then what does the left do? Solar, energy, wind. Dude, if there was a way, first of all, the wind situation is not the best, right? They could probably take advantage of wind in areas they haven't. They could probably take advantage of tides the way they haven't. But it's not to replace, it's to subsidize. That's how the left have to start looking at this climate debate itself is a compromise. You can't go flailing your arms all in the air. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. And think that you're going to get it just because you stomp your feet loud and proud like Greta Thunberg. There has to be a compromise. Hey, man, what if we stop making so many plastics we subsidize with some THC? What if instead we stop cutting down all these trees and deforesting the planet and we start using some THC, some hemp, not THC, hemp. Help me out, guys. Thank you. Right? Where's the compromise? Where's the left? The left today does not know how to compromise, and it's just so evident in their actions too as well, because what do? They participate in cancel culture. I don't like what you got to say. You're out. You're racist. You're misogynist. The left needs to start getting its shit together and acting like a bunch of adults. Compromise, conversation, respect. We're losing this battle right here in this specific topic right here. And look at the way it starts out. Is this logical? Somebody died from heat stroke. Global warming. 90% of the scientists say, 90% of what scientists? Somebody tried to tell me that. I met a climate activist in Nicaragua. 99% of the scientists say, that's what they say. Name one of the scientists. Well, I don't know their names, but 99% of them. Name me one. Give me one of their credentials. They couldn't even tell me one. 99% of the scientists do not say that. There's a shit ton of scientists who say no. There's a shit ton of people that are saying, I know, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. He says I'm being misogynistic towards Krystal and racist towards Sagar. My bad. I'm gonna prove my bad. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of scientists out there There's a lot of people who are involved in the global, the climate change movement. There's a lot of people who've been talking about this and saying, no, it's just a certain group of scientists they're elevating so they can get their message out. And they've showed their hand with their ESG movement, the way they want to do these things to cripple the small farmer. We got to talk about these things. We got to talk about food sovereignty. We got to talk about how we respectfully take care of the planet. You know what I'm saying? We got to talk about how we pollute our waters, not just the ocean, but our drinking waters. And I'm a person, I'm saying all this shit, I would ban fracking tomorrow. Fracking affects our water. We can't affect our water. But that doesn't mean we have to stop drilling in certain places. But if we are going to drill, let's make sure that our pipelines are safe and secure and don't have cracks and leaking over here and leaking over there. Let's have a common sense debate where we have compromise in the situation. How about that, guys? It's called being an adult. And I wish the fucking left would start to be an adult. Shit, even I'm still pissed off at some of my friends the way they're talking to each other right now. Come on. Let's get our shit together. Let's go to the rest of this Sagar. Let's hear more of Krystal's points. Like, oh my God, heat wave over there, global warming. Shut up.
People are living this reality increasingly at this point, and an overwhelming majority of them, some 2/3, say, yeah, this is a concern for me. So do you have the sort of contempt in your heart for them that comes out in that language when you would describe them as climate cultists?
I have no contempt in my heart, Krystal. I have deep sympathy for people who are hungry for purpose and meaning and have relocated their desire for faith to the faith in climate instead.
But why shouldn't?
I believe in facts.
But
I believe in
what's
facts.
wrong with this?
So we can talk.
I people are experiencing this in their own lives right now.
So, Krystal, in any other context, if the trust the science crowd were persuaded by lived experience of individuals of something that's actually a macro phenomenon, you would laugh them off the stage as a bunch of rubes who weren't data driven. So let's talk data. Let's talk data.
Let's talk data. I've got some data that I can put up on the screen.
All right, pause.
And then I want to hear from you.
Oh my! I just listen. Who out there in their experienced life is really living is feeling the effects, negative effects of climate change? That climate change is really affecting their lives. I'm looking for the chat now. Where are you guys at? Right? Where are you at? We see Andrew's there. Andrew, good. I hope you took your medication today. That would be nice. But seriously, I don't know, hottest July on record. I mean, okay. But is that climate change really? Is that man-made? I mean, maybe we do have some stuff where it's man-made, where we're dirtying the ozone layer and whatnot. But where's the biggest effects from it? Where's it coming from? Is it not from the bombs being dropped? Isn't the military-industrial complex one of the biggest polluters of the year? Is Krystal going to talk about the fact that we should cut the military budget to stop dropping bombs? What about all the plastic that's made? The plastic that's in our oceans. They don't talk about these things. And dude, I'm here in Florida. I'm in the same spot that Al Gore talked about, that it was going to be underwater by now. We cannot be alarmist on the situations. I'm sorry, dude. And just because it's hot, I mean, what do those people on the right say? Well, it's a cycle. Just because it's hot. Let me tell you something. I don't think it's the hottest freaking July on record. I think there's been hotter fucking Julys, to be honest. Excuse my French for cursing and stuff like that. What's up, LJ? So, I would like us to get to a common sense place in this argument. I'd like the left to win this back over. We lost the plot on this one. We need to get it back. We need to have common sense debates about this issue right here. Because I, for one, want to take care of Mother Earth. I, for one, want to clean this planet. We don't have to do all the shit we do. We don't have to drop these bombs like crazy, right? You got any evidence, Robbie, that it's climate change? What's up, A-Rem? Good to see you, TNT. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Get your medication. Have it. Guys, let's play the rest of this. Let's get into it. Convo Couch, do us a favor. Do hit the like button, hit the share button.
Go ahead and put the next pieces up on the screen. We've got some record lows in terms of Antarctic sea ice extent. We've got ocean temperatures that are smashing seasonal records. We had just the hottest June on record.
I think it might be helpful for me to lay out my views, Krystal, because I think you're saying things I agree with.
Okay,
you're saying things I agree with.
Tell me what I'm getting wrong here and why this is not something that people should be concerned about and why they're in a cult if they are concerned about it.
Sure. So let me lay out some hard facts, both about my views and facts on the ground.
Okay. Sure.
Are global surface temperatures going up? Yes. Is that likely due to man-made causes? Yes. Is that an existential threat to humanity? There is no evidence to support that. To the contrary, 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures rather than warm ones. The Earth today is more covered by green surface area than it was even a century ago because carbon dioxide is plant food. Plants actually grow in slightly warmer climates. The climate disaster-related death rate is down by 98% over the last century, directly attributable to more abundant and plentiful access and use of fossil fuels. So I want to be really clear about my view. This is not does climate change exist or not? It's the wrong framing of the question. The question is, what impacts human prosperity, human flourishing in a world in which there are net positive and net negative effects of climate, but also net positive and net negative effects of the use of fossil fuels? I also find it to be a mystery, and it's a mystery maybe you can help me solve, Krystal. Why is it that many of the people who are the staunchest opponents to carbon emissions are also among the staunchest opponents to hydroelectric energy or to nuclear energy? I think that suggests there's something else going on. Why the different standards for China? I think that there's something else going on here. That's my point about there's a religious conviction that goes beyond a commitment to the facts.
Let me just say that even Greta Thunberg, who comes in for a lot of criticism as a quote-unquote climate cultist, is now in favor of nuclear energy. I agree with you on nuclear that should be more of a push, by the way.
If you want to stick to Greta, I actually respect Greta for one thing. She's honest. She says it's not just about the climate. It's about social justice. It's about climate justice. It's about equity. So these are things that at least she is actually an honest statement of what the movement stands for.
If you're living in a poor neighborhood in this country, you're more likely to be affected by, the toxic plants and bad toxic chemical plants.
Disagree. You're more likely to be affected by restraints on fossil fuels is actually what you're likely to be affected by.
I wonder if you have
because
followed
of lack of access to fossil fuels.
I wonder if you've followed though what's happening in, because you're capitalist, you're a successful business guy, so you sort
that last part of what he said is very, very true, right? And he even talked about how more people die from the cold nowadays because they have a lack of energy to get the resources they need to keep themselves warm. Like I said, for a lot of people, climate change is about burning fossil fuels in the air and polluting it. For me, it's not only about that. That is something that I'd like to address, and how we take care of Mother Earth is very important. If we can burn less oils and toxins in the air, of course. But energy, climate change, the discussion is also about keeping grandma and grandpa warm. And he putting it out. And this is something that the left has lost. And when she tried to say, if you're in these poor areas, and this is an area which she said in which the asshole left, I don't know what left you want to say, the American left is try to capture and use and try to say, if you're in a poor area, you're more likely to die from climate change issues than if you live in a more affluent area. And Vivek stung her right there and told the truth. Like, no, that's not true. It's because of the lack of fossil fuels you get to these poor areas. If we can give them the means necessary to heat themselves, to keep themselves warm, to use energy, to move around, to transport goods and services, they have a better chance of living. There's more of an argument, I think, a better argument to get them more fossil fuels rather than it is to try to make this case that, well, climate change affects those who are most vulnerable, the poorest of the poor. The reason why they're affected the worst is because they don't have the energy to keep themselves warm, and they don't have the energy to move themselves around just to transfer goods and services. And that's a big issue right there. Let's play the rest of this clip out, and then we'll get to the other part, because this is the good part for Vivek in the interview. Then we'll get to the other part. Like I said, I invited Vivek Ramaswamy on to come to the show. When he came out of the gate, he ignored nothing from him.
Certainly understand the way that markets work.
And then
you look at
pause it. And then, I didn't hear back from Vivek. So then all of a sudden he started coming out with his anti-China rhetoric, and I went after him. But now I'd like to see if I can circle the wagons again, get him back on the show, get him on the show. I'd love to talk and have a conversation with him. Fam, did you want us to play the last part of the climate stuff? You ready?
No, I was listening. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Is Alex almost ready?
Okay. I sent him the. Yeah, okay. He should be.
Let's go to the YouTube clip then.
Wait. One second. I just want to say, my internet is really bad. I don't know what's going on. So if it keeps doing this, I'll just use my phone so I can at least participate in the discussion. Sure. Okay.
Sure. Let's go to the YouTube clip now. Let's get off this one clip here. That's enough of the climate change. Fam, I think whether the left has to find a way. What left? We have to find a way to get back to this conversation, get on the right side of this conversation. Not right being conservative side. The right is opposite of wrong. To get back on the positive side of climate change, talking about how do we protect Mother Earth. But it started with a Green New Deal where she completely ignored the military as being one of the polluters, the biggest polluters. And then it moved quickly into the ESG movement, which is just all about the WEF and doing whatever they need to do to crush small businesses and, have the big farmers control everything. So I'd like to get back to some based conversations about the environment, how we take care of it, how we look after Mother Earth, rather than where we're at. We're lost right now. The left is lost when it comes to climate change, and they're making themselves look crazy and actually allowing the right to win this conversation because they are looking that over the top crazy.
I don't think either side is winning this conversation because one side denies that there's anything wrong at all and that we should just continue going about as we are. And the other side literally is compromised in terms of how to fight it. So yeah. I don't think either side is really winning on this, and I think they're both losing. But we do need to talk about, where our food comes from and all of that, which is important. But again, I don't think the issue of, people getting healthcare can be ignored. But what I will say is that people in Europe who have healthcare also run into a lot of problems. So that is not the only solution. There's a lot of issues with nationalized healthcare, the way it's conducted in Europe as well. And I hear this from, of course, a lot of people I work with who are from the UK, and they say, it takes a long time for you to get help and stuff. So,
yeah. And the thing about it is, too, fam, is we don't have a healthcare system here. We got a sick care system. It deals completely with symptoms and what they can do to corner you into keeping you as a customer. And to keep you as a customer, they got to keep you sick. And all the bills that are out there, whether it be Jayapal's bill or Bernie's bill, it's a handover to the freaking big pharma corporations, where the FDA is making decisions on your healthcare, where they kick it down to HHS, the Health and Human Services, which is Xavier Barrera, which we know from California, and we now know him from the whole COVID situation because he determines where the money goes. You're gonna hand that over to these people to decide what's best for your healthcare. It's a sick care system, and we got to talk about what happens on the front end: food sovereignty, GMOs. Your boy Putin, if you can give him a call, fam, and tell Vladdy, thank you for signing the law that eliminates GMOs in Russia. They're taking care of their food. When I went to Nicaragua, I went to a farm, fam, and they were not using any GMOs or pesticides and growing things naturally. I ate the dragon fruit, the pitaya. It was beautiful. We need to get to that, and we need to start acknowledging the fact that Monsanto is poisoning us. If there's anything that we learned from the COVID-19 situation, is that our sick care system is broken. And they're trying to force you into what they want to do. Our guest is waiting in the wings. Let's play this one little video, fam, really quick. I just want to talk about this, and we'll get out of it because I do talk about elections, because about Vivek, right? Vivek is there, and I don't know if you saw it, fam, but he talks about all this data, and he looks at it, and he can make a decision on what's going on about climate change and why he has a certain position. Well, my question to Vivek is, why aren't you looking at the same thing when it comes to elections? And listen to what he has to say, fam, about the 2020 election and so forth. Take a look.
Early on.
Vivek, there's been some discussions in recent days around your book about January 6th, especially given concurrent potential pending indictments against the former president. Let's go ahead and put this up there. on the screen. In your book, you wrote, quote, "The loser of the last election refused to concede the race and claimed the election was stolen, raised hundreds of millions of dollars from loyal supporters, is considering running for executive office again." I'm referring to Donald Trump. Do you still believe that Trump actually lost the election and that January 6th was a dark day for democracy?
I was in detail in both of my books and articles, and I've been very consistent about this throughout. I have seen no evidence. It's exactly what I said in Nation of Victims, and I haven't seen the evidence since, that there was a scale of ballot fraud that would have changed the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. I've also said in that same book and ever since that the real way the election was, in a narrow sense, stolen was the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story on the eve of the election. I'm data-driven. The data is compelling, including 360-degree polling data that said people would have changed their vote had they been exposed to information that was systematically suppressed. So that's my view. It was big tech interference was the problem. I haven't seen any evidence of systematic ballot fraud being the basis for a difference in result. But most importantly, I think a lot of these factors did lead to and culminate in what happened on January 6th. Systematic suppression of information. And I think until we have reconciled ourselves with that reality, I'm afraid we're going to see much worse in the future.
That's good.
That is why.
That's good. Enough. Fam, I'm going to start calling Vivek Ramaswamy the zookeeper because he loves to throw out the red meat. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy's talking about all this data and this analysis about climate change. Homeboy, did you not look at the data and analysis of what went on in 2020? You saw nothing wrong here, nothing to see here. I mean, that guy's supposed to be a very smart guy, and he can't even approach this. I mean, if you look at our election system, at the very least, you should say, listen, yeah, I didn't see any evidence of fraud because we're not allowed to look at it. But you can't tell me with the system we have that you can prove that these numbers are real. And these were mathematical impossibilities. They use the term anomalies. They were mathematically impossibilities. The fact that he had nothing to say, and what does he do? He goes right to the fucking red meat. It was big tech. It was Hunter Biden. And, there's another clip we're going to skip for now, but I'm calling him the zookeeper because he loves to throw the populist right, the red meat, fam. That's what Vivek likes to do, and I'd love to have a conversation with him moving forward, but that's all I got over there on that.
Yeah. No, just to summarize, basically, he basically knows his audience and he knows who he's going after. So he's going to go in the anti-China route. He's going to go, Hunter Biden, which I agree with him that there was a surveillance of the Hunter Biden, like a complete censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story, that there was admittedly by the Times, right? They wrote that infamous report about the cabal of elites coming together to stop Trump from winning. They admitted that there was election interference, at least on that end, but they refused to admit that there's an election interference on the actual process, and they're not going to admit it. And a lot of people won't even talk about that still to this day because it's still viewed as something completely bogus. And again, this is why I don't participate in US elections, because I know that there's no truth to them. But we digress on that.